What's up, Internet? I was watching Eric Eulis just minutes ago, and he mentioned that DB Cooper didn't have any luggage. This seemed to insinuate to him that Cooper may have been based in, I think, Seattle, he said, based on that. But I think that the circumstances may indicate that Cooper had some kind of a lair or some kind of a base or an outpost in North Portland. Assuming that the offender in this crime is not from the area. He comes into Portland from parts unknown, and in preparation for his daring aerodynamic heist, Cooper sets up shop somewhere. What I mean by setting up shop is he needs to have a base or an outpost from which he can safely operate. It should be within reasonable distance to the airport that he's going to hijack the aircraft out of. But the exact proximity I can't say with any measure of conviction at all. But I think that if the offender comes from out of the area and he is using Portland as a temporary base or outpost of some kind, that he's not going to have that outpost be in the deep city of Portland, because that gives him a chance to be seen by more witnesses. So this is a person who is very calculating and very intelligent as a criminal, and remember that he requested the ransom notes and any notes passed to the flight crew. He requested those be returned to him before the jump, and the only piece of evidence that he really left on the plane, aside from his cigarette butts, which had no evidentiary value at the time, according to the Las Vegas FBI field office. He left a tie behind, but he didn't want his handwriting or his fingerprints or anything like that to be left on the aircraft. This tells me that we have also, he left only obfuscated partial fingerprints, but he did leave a clean palm print, and that insinuates that he was doing something, as Ryan Burns does, to obfuscate or hide his fingerprints. So this is a forensically aware offender, and as a result of that, it tells me that his home base is probably not going to be based in deep Portland or in a larger city where he's going to be seen by more people. So if you're looking for places to canvass, potentially would be the motel and hotel records of areas north of Portland or in northern Portland. The hijacker took an aircraft out of Portland, flew to Seattle, and this is where he had the money filled. I don't think he's from Seattle. Think about this, guys. If the offender is from Seattle, he's not going to want to request the ransom money from a jurisdiction or near a jurisdiction where he's based, because what if he has a bill in his possession, he goes back home to quote-unquote Seattle one night and he has one of the Cooper bills, or who knows what can happen. But basically, it's not a good idea to request the ransom money from the jurisdiction in which you reside. So Seattle is kind of a red herring. I don't know if Eric Eulis was thinking he was based in Seattle. That's probably not accurate. He probably chose Seattle because he knew it would have a larger quantity of money and therefore a greater probability of filling the ransom. And he knew that he could kibitz his drop zone between these 2 points. Now, this is something that Quester talks about with the EAR, and it's something I recognize potentially in DB Cooper. He's going from Portland north to Seattle and then flying back down over Portland again, and north of Portland is where he jumps. So you're seeing that kibitz pattern, but I think Seattle's a red herring. He's probably not even northbound, guys, honestly. Look at the man in the composite here. Are you looking at the sketch? This guy is kind of Hispanic looking, so maybe he's going south. Again, the money never turns up in circulation ever again, so it was probably broken in a South American or a Latino country where it's not going to be tracked, because that's the best way to launder that money in that time. And I've mentioned this before. I don't remember where or when. But if you're stealing money in the 60s and you want to launder it, you go south. You don't go to Canada, because in Canada, the money is much more likely to be intercepted than it would be down south. Again, down south, the U.S. dollar is worth even more than it is here, so that money never returns northbound again. It flows south, and it stays there because it's worth more. So the money, of course, never turns back up in circulation again. But I think if you're going to be looking at where you should be canvassing, this was a very cool point that Eric Ulis just made. He said that he believes that the data exists to solve the D.B. Cooper case, and that's very possible that he's right. So what does that mean? Maybe you can canvass motel and hotel reservation records from northern Portland or areas north of Portland. Don't go. In fact, you can even look directly in the drop zone, because Cooper didn't know what was going to be his exact drop zone, and therefore the drop zone itself could coincide with the flight path of crossing over his home base. We don't know. So check everywhere. Canvass all these records. The offender's probably not from the area. And the airplane travel could be a clue to that. But it's really hard to say. So, as far as sifting through that data, I just wanted to bring this to your attention. I didn't show it on a map, and I had a Cooper timeline all prepared, but it's a lot of work, and I'm not the expert here. I'm going to let Ryan Byrne do it.